Oh, hey! How's it going, everyone? Today, I will be reading the long-awaiting part 4 of the Reddit No Sleep story called My Romantic Cabin Getaway, The Mystery Unravels. I have the my shark vacuum going because my dog decided to rip up a flower. It was so sad. R.I.P. Okay, so anyways, if you haven't been here before, my name is Adriana, or I go by Tingle Spells on YouTube. And if you liked this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and like, comment, turn on those notifications, because then you'll get notified of every video I post. And the past couple weeks I've been posting almost daily, so lots of content, lots of different things that I have done and I will continue to do. So alright, so let me get into the story. So some of these videos I do just whispering, some soft spoken. Today it's kind of like a, it's soft spoken, but it's like a slightly louder. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, back to the topic. So I have this story on my iPad today, change up the way I read it. Okay, so this is part 4 of my romantic cabin getaway, The Mystery Unravels. And this one has a slightly different title, which I want to point out that has not been a thing until this part. So the title for this part 4, is Ever Since the Cabin Experience, My Fiance Has Been Scaring Me. So, and he gives a little spiel. So those of you who don't want to watch all the parts, there's a little spiel of what's happened so far. So, over the weekend, my fiance and I stayed in her parents' cabin in Pikes Peak, Colorado. I made a no-sleep post about the disturbing events that transpired over the course of a few nights. Many people have messaged me for an update, but I stopped responding because things have gotten worse since we returned home to California. I feel it's time to say what's going on here. Ooh, getting nervous about this one. I'm sorry that this is long, but I want to document everything. Okay, get your seatbelts on, folks. Faye and I flew back from Colorado on Wednesday afternoon. She slept the entire night, despite the noise, which amazed me. I can't sleep on planes because I'm absolutely terrified of flying. I'd rather stay another night in that cabin. No way. When we got home, I ordered a pizza and she wolfed it down. Her appetite has returned in full force, which is great news. I mentioned this in my original post, but Faye has an undiagnosed sleep disorder. She has pronounced terrors, sleepwalking, and occasional... She has pronounced night terrors, sleep talking, and occasional sleepwalking. This disorder lies dormant 90% of the time, but it tends to flare up when she's under a lot of stress. If we're moving, if she's changing jobs, or if a relative dies, I can expect a night of horrifying talking and odd behavior. Needless to say, our experiences at the cabin have set Faye on edge. Although she's in high spirits, she's still afraid at night. I am too. That night, after pizza, she fell asleep on the couch while we watched Wedding Crashers. At around 10 p.m., the movie ended and I turned the TV off. As I brought our plates to the kitchen... As I brought our plates to the kitchen, I passed by the stairwell and heard a faint noise from upstairs that sounded like a man sighing. I shrugged it off and woke Faye up. We brushed our teeth and went to bed. Faye talked in her sleep a lot that night, and it started about 1 a.m. I woke up to her calling out, "What did you do?" and "Do you need help?" and laughing. This isn't really unusual for her. She babbled occasionally, said a few funny things, etc. I woke up around 4 and heard her talking, but this time she was doing something she's never done before. We've been together for almost 5 years, and not once has she ever whispered in her sleep. But now she was whispering with her back turned to me. For a second, I thought someone was lying on the floor at her edge of the bed, talking back to her. This disturbed the shit out of me, so I sat up and leaned over her, trying to listen in the dark. The only thing I heard her say discernibly was, "Shh, shh, shh, shh." I asked her, "Faye, what are you talking about?" And she didn't respond. I said, "Who are you talking to?" And she replied, "Don't," and nudged me. Another unusual thing happened. At about 5:45 a.m., I woke up to Faye getting back into bed. She hurried into the bedroom from the hall and got back into bed quickly, making zero attempt not to wake me. First of all, Faye does not get up, ever. She sleeps like a dead horse, and even if she went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which she never does, the bathroom is not down the hall. It's in our bedroom. When I asked her what she was doing the next morning, she claimed to have no memory of it. I'm gonna sip some tea. I spent all day Thursday thinking about why Faye was still acting weird. I was the one who found the dream catcher and got close to it. I was the one who interacted with the voices at the cabin. And then I remembered something. On our last night in Colorado at her parents' house, Faye got back into bed around the same time, 5:45 a.m. I barely remembered because I was half asleep, but the image returned to my head. She'd been getting up really, really early for a few days. So last night I set my phone alarm to vibrate and I put the time to 4:45 a.m. In the middle of the night, Faye started talking again. This time she was doing the same thing she did at the cabin, changing her voice to sound like someone else. In 5 years, she sleep-talked a bunch, but has never whispered or changed her voice until recently. She said a few things which I tried to commit to memory. La, 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 flat, monotone. Followed by a day-on, tail, over and over. Day-on, tail. He's still in the trees. Where were you? I looked for you. And, ooh, it's time. About the same time, I heard a noise outside, which sounded like an old man grumbling to himself about something. We live in NorCal, in a really woodsy town. So when you look out our bedroom window, there are tons of trees across the street. It was very dark, but I'm fairly certain I saw a man walking behind the first line of trees. He was too far away to be the one grumbling, but it is very unusual to see anyone over there this time of night. In fact, I have never seen anyone there at night, ever. Looking outside required me to open the curtains, which lit up our room with moonlight. When I looked back at the bed, Faye was lying there with her neck craned toward me. Her eyes crazy wide and fixed on me, and her mouth was open. She issued this really frightening, gurgly, drawn-out groan and flicked her tongue around. It looked like an epileptic fit in slow motion. Faye has definitely opened her eyes in her sleep, but never like this. She looked like a fucking murderer. I got so scared, I called her name really loud and woke her up. She was confused and asked me why I was at the window. I lied and said I was just closing it because it was cold. I didn't want her to know I heard a voice. We talked a bit, but I'll skip that because this is getting long. My alarm woke me up at 4:45 a.m. and I laid there awake, waiting for Faye to get up like she had been the past few nights. She breathes very rhythmically when she's asleep. So I can always tell how deep she's under. At around 5:20, she sat straight up, swung her legs out of the bed, and tiptoed down the hall. I followed behind. When I say that my fiancé tiptoed tiptoed. I don't mean like a child on Christmas Eve. This was robotic, alien, inhuman. She moved like a meth-addicted ballerina zombie down the hall and stopped at the stairwell. That's what I'm going to be for Halloween next year. Yep. Her breathing never changed. I just stood there in our bedroom, poking my head out into the dark hall. Faye looked down the stairs, still standing rigidly on the balls of her feet, swaying to and fro slightly. She did some weird shit. She touched her face slowly for several minutes, touched the banister, touched the wall, flicked the light on and off a few times, all while maintaining her perfectly regular coma breathing. Then she reached an arm out in the motion of a bicep curl, stretching her fingers and wiggling them, then curling them, her hand and her arm back up to her face. I watched her do this motion for about 4 minutes. It looked like she was actually testing the limb, as if she'd never used it before. But then I realized she was actually communicating with someone on the first floor of the house. She was making a come hither motion. Come hither. And people do that in ASMR videos too. They'll be like, oh. With full confidence that Faye was sleepwalking, I walked into the hall and leaned over the half wall that overlooks the living room. It was totally dark down there. I couldn't see anything but the clock on the cable box. Faye stood there waving, smiling, making gestures, and then touching her face and pulling gently on her hair. Oh, I feel like I have to touch my hair now. She carefully ushered her back to bed and talked to her softly, trying not to actually wake her. I carefully ushered her back to bed and talked to her softly, trying not to actually wake her. She didn't resist. She never does, and went back to sleep without another word. I have zero clue what the fuck is going on. I told her this morning what she did, and now we have a doctor's appointment for her at 3 p.m. today. That's crazy. Well, that escalated. Alright, guys. What do you all think has happened to Faye? I have to say, I am enjoying the fact that this story, the scary character, other than, whatever it is in the forest, is a female. I actually really am scared of horror, like watching horror movies, but I would love to be in a horror movie. I don't know, because it would be fun. So yeah, but anyway, so I appreciate that about this story as well. Let me know what you guys think of part 4. I'm going to try to upload part 5 probably tomorrow, because I have tomorrow off for Veterans Day. So anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed. We are a quarter of the way through this series. I'm gonna stick with it, don't worry. But like I said, if you haven't been here before, please subscribe.